Welcome to the Shrink Show.
What should we talk about today, folks?
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you what we should talk about.
Do we want to do Disney? Do we want to see
Disney
how that goes?
Diagnoses. Disney Diagnoses.
Do we want to? I feel like I need my phone for that one.
For notes?
Well, we could just try Snow White.
We just focus on Snow White. Let's include listener in what our thought process is. Listener, we love Disney
Both of us watch Disney movies
more frequently than our children.
I heard somebody say the other day, this was yesterday or the day before, something about, and I don't even remember who it was, but she said, yeah, I mean, I'll watch Disney movies with my kids, but I'm not sitting at home watching Disney movies on my own. And she was
What?
And she was using it as a judgment of character, and I sat there silently
I would have spoken up aggressively.
Well, it wasn't the time. She has gone through a lot. I now remember who it was, and she's got quite a bit going on.
Okay, that's fine.
But I also was like, this is hilarious because I love that you and I both independently watch Disney movies.
Kurt and I do all the time too, though, because we would joke about when it was just Gage, my stepson. We would be like, man, I can't wait till it's our weekend with him so we can go see this movie. Because we're like, we want to see it. We know he would enjoy it too. I guess we should wait for the child to join us to go see the Lego movie. To go see the latest pics, like How to Train a Dragon. We were just like, I guess we should bring him to...
Okay.
Because we would easily watch Disney movies by ourselves. Mm-hmm. So there's more than just us. People like us exist, right?
They have to. I mean, every time I got sick, I watched Finding Nemo. My husband would come home, and I had no children at home at the time. Mm-hmm. I had no children that were in my possession all the time because Beckett was here and there.
Right.
And if I was sick, I would watch Finding Nemo and eat pizza.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then when I started working at the hospital, I would always tell the kids, I'm like, you should watch Finding Nemo. It has healing powers. Trust me. I know.
I know from firsthand experience.
Just keep swimming.
It's such a good movie.
So good. Just watched it the other day again.
I think I like Finding Dory more.
I like both of them.
They're both special in different ways.
They are. Anyhow.
So we're going to focus because my left brain was like, well, chronological order, of course. So if we go in chronological order of the Disney movie's release date, Snow White is the first.
As far as Disney Diagnoses, but you also have a bone to pick with Snow White.
I know, I do. Snow White is a dumb bitch, but let me pause for a hot minute. I just had to say it. Just had to get it off my chest. But we wanted to go through and essentially rewatch these Disney movies with the mental health therapist and clinical social work lens. Not the entertain me because I'm sick and just want to enjoy my Saturday afternoon.
Right.
So I rewatched Snow White, but honestly, even when I rewatched Snow White as a grown-up,
just as pissed.
I noticed how triggered I got because I was like, oh my God.
Now even more so, you're like, what the fuck?
The first thing that stuck out, I don't even know where we're starting or where we're going, but we're just going balls in.
Balls.
Everyone strap on. So.
Side note, my mom told me a joke. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
What's the difference between male snowmen and female snowmen? Snowballs.
Snowballs. That's clever.
Isn't that fun? Anyhow, so you said strap on, balls
jokes.
Deep. Let's do it.
Let's do it. No, the thing that upset me, even before we knew that we were going to talk about this on the podcast, what upset me was Snow White's insistent need on getting Grumpy to like her. Because it triggered me because I thought, damn, me and friends, just my generation, I will like spread it that far out. How many women do you know work so hard in getting someone to like them who clearly is either abusive or doesn't like them? And I just was like, I feel like I'm watching me in my teenage and young 20s, like my young adulthood years, and friends and like clients. And I'm like, I just feel like it was this like overlap of universes of this Disney movie, and in real life, people do this all the time.
So how was she? Remind me, because I didn't rewatch it.
I will give you a play-by-play.
That's how good I did.
This dumb bitch straight up said, okay. Oh, I hit the mic.
Here we go.
I'm sorry, listener, but
it's getting real.
I'm getting upset. So she meets all the Snow White people. Hello. The mic. Sorry, listener.
Stupid mics.
Angie's adjusting it. Okay. So Snow White meets all of the 7 dwarfs, right? And Grumpy makes it very clear he doesn't like her. And he won't go wash his hands when she's like, you need to go wash your hands before you come eat. And he's like throwing a huge fit about it.
Now, to be fair, all of a sudden, she just fucking waltzes in and just kind of takes over.
I mean, I kind of breeze by some other issues of Snow White's right here. I'm just really focused on what fucking pisses me off about Grumpy.
Like, homegirl, you might be fantastic, and you might be, you know, the mirror on the wall, the fairest of them all, but you don't get to just waltz around and do whatever the fuck you want.
But she does.
Yeah.
In the movie. Yeah.
I know.
Let's talk about boundaries here, right?
Seriously.
And like expectations.
Is Grumpy wrong? That's a good question.
I know. Like on some levels, I was like, hey, Bra doesn't want to like wash his hands.
Right.
His body, his choice, right?
Right.
But that night, like, so he makes it clear he doesn't like her. He, like, his body language, he straight up, like, glares at her. He says no all night long, like, throughout the dinner, throughout their, like, little dance party number that they have. And then it's bedtime, and then all the 7 dwarfs sacrifice their beds so Snow White can sleep on their beds. And obviously, Grumpy's pissed about it, which I would be, too. I mean, whatever. That's like, whatever.
Has there even been a background check? Does anybody know this broad?
I know. I know. Her mom kicked her out. So many issues. But when she prays that night, she's kneeling by her bed and she prays, just blessing all the dwarves. And then she goes, oh, and please make Grumpy like me. Amen. And I was like, oh, that dumb bitch actually said it.
But why? Why does she need him to like her?
Yes, why? That is my question. And it was irritating to watch this cartoon with this girl desperately trying to get this person who clearly doesn't like her to like her.
So then you think about this, because that came out in the 1930s, right? Or 20s. When did Snow White come out?
I don't remember.
Oh, God. It was 20s or 30s.
I just Googled order and I kind of blacked out.
And you think about the progression of women in that time frame, right? So even if our generation is still dealing with those effects of we are only as likable as the world says we are. Mm-hmm.
Or as the meanest person towards us.
Right. So if they're mean towards us, does that mean that we're not likable? Mm-hmm. Like if you were to meet Grumpy in real life, first of all, his name's Grumpy. Back up. Name says everything.
I know.
You know. But second of all, if you were to meet him in real life and he's that grumpy and he doesn't want to be near you, then just, okay, deuces. Like, I also don't want to be near you, you fucking grumpy ass piece of shit, you know? Like, I mean...
Right. He's so mean.
That's what we're trying to... That's the liberation I think our generation is trying to fight into. Like, I want my girls to be able to be like, okay, you can go ahead and have your grumps.
Right.
By yourself.
Well, yeah, there'll be times where sometimes my kids, sometimes they'll say it out of anger, and sometimes I think they just say it to see the reaction, but they'll say, I don't love you. And I'll say, that's okay. You don't have to love me. I can love you, and you don't have to love me back. Because I want it to be clear that just because someone likes you or says they love you, it doesn't mean you have to reciprocate. Because I do feel like that was kind of subconsciously, subliminally pushed upon us. Like, okay, well, you better tit for tat. You better even the score. Just be nice because they were nice. I'm like, okay, but really? Like, we can be nice, but I don't have to like you back.
Right. Let's talk about the evil queen for a hot second.
Yeah.
So, first of all, stepmothers.
She's a stepmother.
Stepmothers have, like, I don't know who worked at Disney, but they obviously had some unresolved trauma
From
with
a
their
stepmom.
step-parent.
Yeah.
Their stepmother.
Stepmother specifically.
Yes. Ironically, my husband also had like a crazy stepmother. So I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, I knew all of this going into my situation as a stepmother. I'm like, oh, God, okay.
Yeah.
I got some big shoes to fill. Like, I'm like saving, you know, the future of stepmothers.
Yeah.
You
In
know?
the Stevens family.
Like, stepdads, you always hear about, like, oh, my stepdad. But stepmoms are always from the devil. Like, what?
Well, yeah, this stepmom, let's talk about names.
Well,
her name is Evil Queen.
Right. So who is the asshole that named her Evil Queen? Okay, so obviously she grew up with trauma. Her mom named her Evil Queen.
She didn't set her up for any success right there.
What? Everything says a name. Grumpy, the Evil Queen. Like, I'm sorry.
And this obsession with being like the most attractive woman in all of the land, you know?
But she is terrified of aging. Right? How many women are terrified of aging and they try to live vicariously through their children?
Yes.
And they're like,
or just like the fact that she has to talk to her mirror. I mean, there's just so many subliminal messages of like, you know, think about present day. Like there's the Botox and the fillers and like the hair extensions and all the things that
your
we
mirror
do.
is always telling you that you're not the most beautiful.
Yes.
So if you think about the message that she was given, she will never be good enough.
Right.
And the only thing standing in her way was this one thing. But, like, the one thing being Snow White. But how many women are dealt with that, like, have to deal with that? How many women are dealt that hand of, the only thing standing in my way is losing weight. The only thing standing in my way is
getting married.
Not having gray hair. Is getting married. Is
having kids.
Right. Is
getting this job.
In my career. Like, we're always chasing that, you know, the whatever it is that says we're enough. And the same thing, Snow White was doing the same fucking thing with Grumpy.
Right.
Wanting to be enough.
Well, and I think that's what we talked about. It was like that, as a therapist, I'm like, okay, it seems like, so, because we were joking about, well, okay, what if I was Snow White's therapist, right? And in my intake session, first of all, I would talk to her in a much nicer tone than I'm using right now, okay?
Listen, you dumb bitch.
Like, listen here, you bitch. I got all your fucking answers.
You naive
okay?
little fucker.
Let's talk about boundaries and expectations, okay? His name's fucking Grumpy. Second.
Like the writing is on the wall.
It fucking kills me. So I think the backstory for Snow White is she obviously doesn't have a mom because she's a stepmom, the evil queen. And dad is dead.
It's like Snow White's, or it's like Cinderella's story.
Yeah, so Snow White's an orphan, but being raised by stepmom. Obviously being raised quite poorly because stepmom is obsessed with this mirror to tell her the correct things in life.
Well, she's pretty much, Snow White's raising herself. She also has, like, she is oblivious to actually confronting the pain and the trauma of her life.
Well, because the opening scene is Snow White singing into a wishing well and wishing for a prince to come find her and to rescue her away. Like that, those were the lyrics, right?
Because a man has to save every woman, right?
Well, and a man has to be the one who does it for her. Mm-hmm. Like she can't do it at all. Mm-hmm. She's just sitting and waiting by the wishing well. Right.
And at that time, mind you, keep in mind, women couldn't even open their own checking account.
No.
Until the mid to late 60s or the early 70s.
I think it was the 70s, yeah.
Like they couldn't open a checking account without their father.
Or like get a credit card.
Or their significant other co-signing.
Right.
So, women literally were waiting.
Right. So that's why, yes, generational difference. But it really helps. it's fascinating though to watch because I'm like, these are still present day issues, right? And so this is where it's like, the generational trauma that I like to talk about. So Snow White, I would be like, okay, so if we're going to talk about those adverse childhood experiences, the ACEs, I'm like, okay, already lost both parents, not sure how, but I'm going to assume not in a good way.
Reminding you guys, the ACEs, ACE, is adverse childhood experiences. And these, it's a number from 0 to 10, 10 being the highest. If you've experienced all 10, you've had a really, really tough childhood and have seen a lot of shit. If you've had 0, then, you are an anomaly, really.
I don't know any.
But the higher the number, the more likely of addiction, of health problems, mental health problems. So all of that. Okay. So
right.
ACE study.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so she lost her parents. And then her stepmom put a hitman out against her.
Right.
So she, at that point, becomes homeless because she has to run away from home. And
her stepmom willing to sacrifice everything in order to be the fairest of them all.
Right. All for how she looks. Interesting. So then Snow White runs. Whoa.
Hold on. Let's just...
My mic. Well, I just talk with my hands and I just smacked it. That's what I heard in my head. I smacked it. Smack that. Smack that.
Give me some more.
Oh, so I don't forget. You can cut this too. But next year, Madison County Fair, ludicrous. You want to come?
Yes. Tell me when it's Little John, though, because that is truly where I'm about.
I know.
Like Little John.
I know.
I'm like, he and I will be best friends before I die.
Okay, well, if he does another small town, we should start looking it up. Maybe they'll announce it. But if
what?
he does...
Okay.
Did you see my face? Okay. Anyways, just had to take a time warp into the.
What I should do is a parody. All I really want for Christmas is to meet Little John, baby. Yeah.
That'll do it.
Because that's his song.
Yes.
And then I could tell him the Kool-Aid was invented in Nebraska.
Last year.
Yeah.
Well, he did a concert here earlier this summer, and then you were all upset that you missed it.
Wait. Time.
Remember? It was the night that you did that big meeting with everybody. Were we with Dana and Kendall all night?
It was Little John?
Yeah. He was in town that night. And you were like, if I would have known, I would have never scheduled this.
God damn it.
I love how you don't remember any of this.
Nope.
You were there.
I probably blocked it out because it's traumatic. It's like a repressed memory.
Dramatic. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Okay.
That was true. It was too much. It's okay. If that were like Spice Girls, I would be upset too.
Okay. What were you saying? Okay, so
I don't know.
Oh, so the evil queen gonna sacrifice everything.
Yep, she put a hit out on Snow White.
Beautiful, because that's obviously what we need to do as women.
Yes, priorities. So Snow White is then homeless. She runs frantically through the woods, aggressively getting attacked by the tree branches and the swamp. It was
super
She was like hallucinating. She must have taken something on this little journey.
It's like Alice in Wonderland.
It was.
You know what? Honestly,
it was trippy.
Though, at the same time, Alice in Wonderland and The Wizard of Oz.
And how women are crazy.
Yeah, they just, if anything.
Women overreact. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, fascinating. Okay. So yeah, then she stumbles upon, and now we're back full circle with where we're at with Grumpy, right? And then it shows you like these personalities of these men. And what I find fascinating too is with all the 7 dwarfs, with all these men, they, minus Grumpy, were like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Like, we will do whatever. Like, of course you can have our
sleep
bed.
in my bed.
Of course you can, like, do whatever. And they made it look like obviously their house was shit. Like, dust, cobwebs, dirty dishes, like everything was filthy. But thank goodness a woman came to keep it clean. So like that's teaching men.
God, because they just had to go work.
Yes.
And the woman was responsible for taking care of the house.
And so it just, again, I'm like, these are these little subliminal ways in which they're teaching men. It's okay, men. You don't have to try. As long as you work hard all day, you can come home and do nothing.
And the women, it is your duty to make him like you.
Yes.
And to clean the house.
Yes.
And parent him. Because when she was like, you have to wash your hands. I mean, it was like she was becoming the mother of them because they were little.
Right. And oh my gosh, if I had a nickel for how many times my clients would be still struggling with this very issue. Like, I get it. Like, I get that we both work, but it's just, I need to do this to wind down after work. So if she could just understand that, like it's now sounding different, but it's the same issue.
It is. And what it reminds me of is the story of this woman, and she cut the edges off of her ham to put in the pan. And her daughter said, Mom, why do you do that? And she's like, I don't know. It's what my mom always did. And then she asks her mom, and her mom says, I don't know. It's what my mom always did. You should go ask Grandma. And then she goes and asks Grandma, and Grandma says, well, I always did it because I didn't have a big enough pan to fit the ham. But it took her daughter asking her because she didn't question it. How many of these things within society continue to be perpetuated because we're not questioning it? Well, that's just women are the ones who do the work. Well, fuck off, dude.
Well, and how many things have you seen on Google, and the latest news article says, yep, women do in fact still do more of the housework than men, just in the study, and more of the parenting, and women are now working, but it's still uneven, the workload, the mental load, because I think that's what I keep hearing coming up more often is that term mental load, which I don't think necessarily existed when I was younger, but I like that because it's really explaining women do work, not only the 9-to-5 job, but they also do the parenting and then the mental load of all of that. So it's who's the one that thinks, I need to rotate the clothes in my kids' closet because it's now winter time and it's no longer summertime. Yep. Or my kids have outgrown all their pants, so I need to make sure I take out all the pants that they don't fit into. And I need to make sure that the library books put back in their backpack because tomorrow's library day. And
Timmy
tomorrow,
has a birthday party on Saturday, so
and then
I have to
we have to do this, this, and this. And so that mental load, that term describing all of that, who's the one who's thinking, who's planning? Because I don't think, it's stereotypically, I'm not saying every husband or man, but in these terms when it's being talked about, they're saying stereotypically, men don't carry the mental load that women do.
Well, because if you think about, there's still that generational stuff that we're trying to fight through.
That Snow White was all subtly teaching us.
Right. This isn't all women, and it isn't all men.
Right.
But someone, somewhere in your family had to cut that cord, break that, whatever that is, or it's still there. So if you're a man that saw your father not cleaning, not cooking, not, taking care of the kids' stuff, and your mother decided to get a job, and whether or not they stayed together because your mom also had self-image issues because that shit was perpetuated, right? And she couldn't leave him because she wasn't strong enough, okay?
Right.
Now you're a man. It is your duty to break that cycle because now your wife is also working full-time, whistling while she fucking works, and still expected to do all the same things that a stay-at-home mother did.
Right.
That is impossible.
Right. Because stay-at-home mother is a full-time fucking job.
Clean my fucking house and have everything in order if I didn't work.
Right. And even then, would it?
I know. Well, I have a toddler at home, so nothing ever gets accomplished. So.
No, I know. But it was just these... again, looking at it through the lens of the social worker and looking at resources that we would let's say the 7 Dwarfs came into us as we are social workers and what resources would they need, right? And it's okay, well, activities of daily living, that includes grooming and hygiene, house care, keeping appointments, all the day-to-day things that you do, wearing clean clothes, things like that. And it's they obviously excel at work. They make it to work, but it's very clear that their grooming and hygiene is poor because Snow White had to fucking ask them to do it. Their household chores, not capable of doing. Everything is unclean.
And honestly, how did Dopey even have a job?
There's a lot of questions with that too. But what an inclusive job, I suppose, letting him do that. But is OSHA okay with that?
I know, and he also obviously wore hand-me-downs. Whose hand-me-downs? I don't fucking know.
I know.
Like, who's big enough to wear all that stuff? I don't know. But he was a delight.
But he was the comedic relief because he just loves Snow White. But that was the thing is, that was, I think, always the reoccurring, again, subtle story that was planted throughout was the, minus Grumpy, the 6 other dwarves loved and adored Snow White. And I think it was really put in there in a way where it's like, this is what you want. Like, this is how you feel safe and you feel protected. But none of them were her prince. Like, none of them were this prince that was going to sweep her off her feet and carry her away, like in that initial song that she sang. Mm-hmm. And so that also was kind of like that message of you need to be liked by everybody. Mm-hmm. Like, it is good that people adore you, but it can't be too much. Mm-mm. Yeah. Just enough.
So then the prince, remind me how he even found her.
So...
You heard her singing, right?
Yeah, so... Let's see. In the very beginning, when she was singing her stupid song by the wishing well.
Which also, all of the animals also have to like you.
Oh, yeah. Which, side note, I sang to outside constantly as a child, trying to get fucking animals to come up to me like they did in the Disney movies.
Maybe that's your true beef with
Snow White. That was fucking false. Like, fake news right there. That's Snow White, that's Sleeping Beauty. Like, that's fucking all of them.
Also, can I just say, the synchronicities between Snow White and Cinderella are kind of insane. Like, Cinderella's story is almost
similar.
Just Snow White,
it's a touch
but
different.
a little elaborated.
Right.
Snow White's actually a really short movie.
It is. Well, because back in the day, those were like 75-minute movies.
Like, what the fuck? Now they're like 4 hours long.
I know. Which, that was great, because when I had to watch it, I was like, great, an hour of my life. Fuck it.
You can tell I didn't even want to spend an hour of my life. I put it on for my daughter after we had discussed this, and then I went and did 1,000 things, because, you know, my job is to whistle while I work and take care of, you know, the... I'm just kidding. That's not
keep the kids alive. Gonna do something. So, okay. Let's see. So in the initial beginning part, when Snow White was singing her song, the prince heard her singing, and I'm pretty sure he, like, showed up at the well and was, like, finishing her sentences, finishing her sandwiches, and she was like, "Oh, like, I can't go off with you," and she, like, scurries away. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. It was something weird like that, and he's like, "Please come back. I love you. I love everything about you."
Bitch, you don't even know me.
I know. What's my fucking name? Anyways, so then I'm pretty sure he just was, like, on a mission to find this girl again, because obviously she's banished because she has a hit out on her.
Also, let's just side note.
Yeah.
Fucking the evil queen, Snow White, Prince Charming, and fucking Grumpy, Happy.
I know, their names were what they were.
Like, what? Who was responsible? Who was on that task team of, like, what should we name this character? Well, what's he like? Well, he's happy all the time. There you go.
This guy sneezes a lot. Let's call him Sneezy.
I like it.
I feel like they're just running out of ideas. Like, Sleepy, Slippy, Slappy, Swanson, Samsonite.
Doc.
They were like, what the fuck were they smoking?
A doctor. He's like in charge, right? So Doc, you know, like, what?
Yeah, but he stutters so much. It takes him forever to get his sentence out. They're like, say it. They like all yell at him. It's not even because I watched it recently. Like, I know all these Disney movies. I have them memorized.
Names.
I know.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
There has to be. I'm sure there's, like, more underneath all of it, but.
So Prince Charming, in love with her. Yay.
Yeah, so so what happened? So, yeah, Evil Queen shows up, which, side note, I'm pretty sure I saw a meme or something that was like, okay, if the Evil Queen could, like, do this whole fucking spell on this whole goddamn apple, why didn't she just wish to be the fairest one of them all? And it's like, bing, bang, boom.
Right.
Done.
But how often if you think about as a society, like, okay, so if
We're going for revenge and blood.
well, and if I have a beef, right, rather than just moving onward and continuing to better myself, how often does the person just like, no, I have to prove that I'm right, and I have to prove that this thing doesn't exist anymore, blah, and it becomes like this. What are we spending our energy on? If she had just spent her energy on becoming the fairest, Snow White have been none the wiser. All she wanted was her fucking prince to save her.
Yeah, of course, get away from you, you bitch-ass evil queen.
Obviously, she didn't sign up for the job.
No.
She didn't really love Snow White, which really shocking because Snow White really seemed kind of kind. So,
she also just seemed annoying and passive. I don't have time for that.
Yes,
a weak woman. So my mom would say, my mom's always like, I hate that story because she was a weak woman. My mom doesn't have time for weak women.
Samesies.
That's what she would say all the time. So maybe that's why I have such rage, because that was implanted into me.
Yeah.
It was incepted into my mind. Like,
I mean, but we've all
don't
met
have time for this shit.
We've all met that woman who's like,
this is too hard.
oh my God, what?
You do it for me.
The fucker, just say it. Like, what is it that you want?
You must have some opinion about something, ever.
I just want Grumpy to like me.
Yeah, you pray to Jesus about it? Jesus Christ. Okay. So, yeah, Evil Queen shows up.
By the way, this is not how we talk about our clients.
Oh, Jesus. God, no. No. Snow White isn't my client, so that's why I can talk about it like this, with this tone and this rage.
No, and I think a lot of that rage, though, is generational. It's the rage of
society.
What we have had to endure as women within society. And I think it's really important because so often the villains get dismissed. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really important that we pay attention to the villains as well.
Right.
Because they tell you just as much within, the societal need. It's kind of the dark and light side of what people are dealing with.
Right. Well, and yeah, even just backtracking onto it helps make sense as to why I saw Snow White in me. I saw Snow White in friends, in people I've seen in my life. People who behave the way she does, who's just like, someone's just gonna make my life easier. Or if I just wait, it'll get better. Because that was her mindset. Or I need you to like me because you are kind of being short with me and seem annoyed by me, so I'm going to keep coming back to prove that I'm a good person. Because I know I've done that. And when I had low self-worth and didn't know quite who I was like, I think you seem to like me, so I guess I'm okay with that. Because no one told me otherwise. So it's like, these are generational mindsets and thinking patterns that have been around since clearly Snow White's time.
Yes.
Right? Because it was blatantly in your face in that movie. So she eats this poison apple and passes out because she's dead enough. Because then the dwarf, then that's where the words came on the screen and it said she was dead and the dwarves thought we can't bury her because we love her so much. And
which is fucking creepy.
And even Grumpy is sad that she's dead. So it's see? So then again, what is that teaching young girls who are watching this movie that are see, he does have a heart.
So then
that's why you stick it out.
The bad guy that you like, that you're I can see that you have a heart. I'm going to stay with him.
Yes.
The abusive guy who beats the shit out of you and chokes you, but then is oh, but baby, I love you so much.
I won't ever do that to you again.
And then they do, and then, but baby, I love you so much.
Yes, because what Angie's describing is that's the abuse cycle that people go through. Mm-hmm. You have this crazy abusive incident, and then you have the honeymoon period, and then you have this floating period, and then the abuse happens again. Mm-hmm. And that was Grumpy. And I think that's why it was infuriating to watch as a therapist, because I would be Snow White, let's talk about self-worth, girlfriend.
Yes.
You don't need Grumpy to like you.
In fact, get the fuck away from Grumpy.
Yes.
Tell him, give him the number to a therapist
relationship.
And see ya.
Yes.
Maybe he needs to go live with the evil queen and tell her off. I don't know.
Yeah. They might get along great. Who the fuck knows?
I don't know.
So then Prince Charming just shows up out of fucking nowhere.
Of course he does.
Because he's been just wandering aimlessly through the land looking for his one true love.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a hot second. I mean, think about this from like a little boy's perspective. I have to be Prince Charming.
Perfect.
Absolutely perfect.
Sweep her off her feet.
And I have to fall in love with her right away. And yes, I have to save her.
Yes. Well, and
like literally, he had to save her.
So you saying that, that's interesting because I didn't really go into the Prince Charming side, but dang, if I had a nickel for how many male clients I have where that is their issue.
Yes.
Where they're like, but I understand why she's behaving
it's
blah,
this
blah,
hero
blah, blah, blah.
complex.
Because like men
they love
that.
In distress.
They love that. They love being the fixer. They love being the one who like, but she needs this or I'm good at this. That is such a common theme amongst majority of any of my men.
And did you see any of his personality?
None.
Exactly. So it didn't matter who he was. All that mattered was that he saved her. Mm-hmm. And he had money and wealth.
Yeah.
So you need wealth,
Yeah.
money, and you need to save the damsel in distress.
Yes.
So these young men...
Well, and not only that, but like
because
Snow White...
obviously the working man doesn't get the woman.
Yeah. No, the working man doesn't. Because and by working man, like, yeah, we're talking like our blue collar.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
folks.
it's the rich guy on the horse, the prince,
the good looking
with no personality.
Man. Yeah.
Who just is like, I love you, and then sweeps her off her feet and saves her life. When these little fuckers are like, no, I will bend over backwards and I will give you my bed and I will do this. And yet she doesn't focus on any of that. She focuses on fucking Grumpy.
Yeah. She's like, oh, you guys are such great friends.
That's it.
She friend zones them real fast.
I'm sorry, fellas.
But I think the theme too, when I was driving here, I was like, if we talk about Disney, like I think not just this movie, but since we're focused on this movie, the thing that does irritate me is that whole like, it just clicks. It was just meant to be. Because I also think I very much was like, it'll just click. I'll just know when I'm with someone. Like you'll just get those feelings.
So I did know after day 4, so I don't know.
Who the fuck knows?
I don't know. I did. Because I need that big of, like, I need like a giant billboard that's like, yep. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, see, I wasn't.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have stuck it out.
But see, I could say with all my exes, I was like, yes.
Do they live in Texas?
No. But I would be like, yes, like we like clicked or we were supposed to be with each other because of this reason. I mean...
Because obviously one of them I was supposed to just dance with at social dance because he was a great dancer.
Oh, I forgot.
That's why you were with him.
Oh, yeah.
Just to give me a good dance partner.
Yeah. I do what I can. But even, I mean, if I put it into perspective, there was a hot minute. I mean, I still do joke about, like, Kurt and I should have met several times before we actually met. We counted. We're like, we should have met like 5 or 6 times.
In fact,
before
I knew
we
Kurt
actually
before
met.
You.
Every single one of my bridesmaids knew Kurt before I did.
It's weird.
How the fuck is that possible? Because you guys all know me years before I met Kurt. Mm-hmm. So isn't that outrageous? But they're just... It's always in these movies, it'll just be this magical, magnetic connection. No conversation, of course. No substance.
She sings, he's smitten, he saves her, the end. Yes. She is now a princess living in wealth and has
just
to
think
do
about
nothing.
In what ways is that coming up in present day? How do you still see these same messages happening in people who you presently know, in your friends, in your family?
See, this is the thing I have always loved about like Disney and Pixar movies is it is a story of our time. It is a story of sometimes predictive of what is to come. You know, like Elemental, like that is really becoming more and more part of that conversation of that balance. You know, every indigenous tribe has something, whether it's earth, wind, air, and fire, or north, south, east, and west. There's always the 4 that they, respect. It's that balance in life. That is the next wave. Elemental was like a fortune telling. Inside Out was a huge movie before the discussion of mental health really came to light and about talking about feelings. And so if you really look at the arts and how beautiful that language can be in moving our society forward.
Well, because look at who's creating these movies. So the people who created the people who created Snow White were like adults in the 1930s. 20s?
Yeah, they were men.
Did we decide
they weren't
this?
women. They were men.
Right? But like, think about that. So it's like, yeah, the people who are creating the present Pixar movies that we're talking about, they are our generation. Mm-hmm. They are us, our age. So it's like, these are things that our generation wants to talk about, and we're wanting the younger generation to know. Because I think in general, like, that's what most adults try to do, is we try to impart our wisdom in some way. And so I imagine the people who made Snow White were thinking, we are doing it. Like, we are making this not only like breakthrough cartoon through Disney, like this long animated movie, but the message is exactly what our children need to hear.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure they did.
Prince
they didn't mean harm in it.
No.
And so that's why it makes you really take a step back and look at, what is it that they did teach us, and what is it that is still presently going on?
Mm-hmm. Because those things were taught in the house. I mean, that was the feeling of the society at the time. And so then that's what the parents were parenting from, that wisdom, that knowledge. And how much do we carry from our parenting into our parenting?
Yeah.
Whether we like it or don't.
Right.
Anyway.
Okay, so then with every character, so we've basically broken it down. We have Evil Queen, Prince Charming, Snow White, the Seven Dwarfs.
Let's talk about the Huntsman.
The Huntsman?
He was given a task. And, I mean, he was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, he was. He was all about it at first.
And then he was like...
He cried.
No.
He cried at Snow White's feet, and he goes, I'm sorry, Your Majesty.
And I would have to say...
It's Your Majesty. She's jealous.
In all honesty, he might be my favorite character.
Break that down.
Because he's so authentic. Because he's like... Yeah, I'm going to take this job. Fuck yeah, I'm good at this. I'm a huntsman, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, I can do this. And then realizes, oh my God, I didn't realize what this task really entailed. Mm-hmm. And then...
And it was gruesome as shit. He needed to put her fucking heart inside of a box and give it back to the evil queen.
Right?
What a psycho.
And then apologized. So was vulnerable. Mm-hmm. He's the only motherfucker that actually showed that kind of vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. They did show a man cry. Yeah, that was impressive.
He cried. He was vulnerable. And he was the strongest character of them all, right? I mean, he's the huntsman. He was this big, burly guy. Mm-hmm. And he's the one who cried.
And, like, his scenes were all dark. Like, you could barely see him. Like, the scenes were so dark, you know? Like, you could see his face. You could see the outline of his body.
But not only
dark
did
and
he
mysterious.
Cry, he apologized to her. And he's like, I'll make it right. Go. Never come back. And then he killed, a pig?
Yeah.
And took the heart.
A hog.
So then, I mean, he deceived the evil queen.
Yeah.
In order to help Snow White's future.
Escape, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's really kind of beautiful if you think about it.
Yeah. He had a big role.
For the time.
It is.
I mean, it's kind of, the whole story's fucked up, but...
I know. But if you take that one scene...
But he was vulnerable, so...
So then, what would be...
Because you never saw Snow White cry. Bitch, you lost both of your parents, your evil...
She cried when she was in the forest. When she got attacked.
Did she cry, or was she hysterically like...
No, it showed her, like laying on the ground, like sobbing. When the forest was attacking her in her little Alice in Wonderland scene. So she like just cried out of fear.
She was only allowed to cry when it was dark and dreary and there's nobody around to comfort her.
Terrifying, yeah.
Otherwise, she had to put a game face on.
Otherwise, she was happy as can be cleaning those fucking dwarves'
Was
house.
she really, or was she pretending? Was she putting her game face on in order to play the fucking game?
Yeah.
Like, I'm fine. Everything's fine. How many people from that generation were
just
fine?
cleaned the house, just presented well, when internally they were on drugs and hallucinating like Alice in Wonderland.
Also, how many coping skills? How many people have the coping skill of cleaning whenever they're, like, so frustrated?
Let's talk about the millennials' problem of over-cleaning, excessively cleaning.
Yeah.
That's totally like, yeah.
I didn't have that problem until I married
It's like a Gen X and millennial issue. Yeah. Because they need to be feeling productive and doing something and seeing the results of something. But it's never clean enough because there's always something that's still dirty. So that fulfills that self-fulfilling prophecy of I'm never good enough.
Do you know why it's never clean enough? Because the same generations also over-purchase. And it's the whole materialistic age. So you have too much shit.
Yeah.
Like, I have too much shit in my house. I can't keep it clean.
They're never good enough.
Much.
But that's, again, it fulfills I'm not good enough.
And it's also that there's too many things to do.
Yeah.
And I can never keep up.
Yep. That's all it's doing. Yep.
Where's that Disney movie?
It's coming. I'm pretty sure that's in, well,
Snow White or Cinderella.
I was like, Cinderella. I was like, which one's the cleaning one? Cinderella.
Yeah, she had to sew her own dress.
She had to clean everything.
She had to clean all the things,
constantly.
even when the fucking cat jumped all
just
over.
Like Snow White. Yeah, cleaning everything. It was
We'll
never
get to
clean
Cinderella.
enough.
We'll give Cinderella her time.
But focus on Snow White. Okay, so if you were her therapist and or a social worker, for each character, for whoever sticks out to you, what like goals or services would you provide? So that would include Evil Queen, Prince Charming. I guess if you want to throw the Huntsman in there, we gave him some airtime.
Love him.
Snow White, Seven Dwarfs. What do you think?
Well, you've already figured out Snow White, so go for it.
Snow White's a dumb bitch.
No, now she's your therapy client.
Okay, fine. If she were my therapy client, I would say, oh my gosh. If clients are listening to this, they'll be like, God damn, she says that to me all the time. Because I just realized, I go, well, that's a little... Anyway, sorry, clients. But I mean it when I say it to you guys, because I like you guys. So if Snow White were my client, I would be like, it makes so much sense why you feel like you have to be all the things. You have to be ready at any moment for Prince Charming to come get you because you've literally been running like most of your life and hiding. Like, it's how terrifying, right? I would process that. I would process probably the loss of her parents and the loss of the stepmom who was never the stepmom she needed her to be. I would also process why she needs Grumpy to be whatever he needs to be in her life. And make sure she truly knows who she is deep down inside so she will fully, wisely decide if Prince Charming is the best partner for her. Well,
yeah, because you would help her realize that she is the Prince Charming that she's always been looking for.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, it's not in no one else can fulfill that.
He is supplemental. Yeah, I tell all my clients, and it takes them a minute to believe me when I'm like, trust me when I say your partner, your spouse, whoever, they are adding additional amazingness to your life. They do not provide the amazingness to your life. You are amazing no matter what. You are exactly who you need to be. You are perfect exactly the way you are. Having a partner is just bonus. But they accentuate the bonus.
Yes.
And if they're not doing that, then that's what we work on.
Right.
That's what we work on in session.
So the Evil Queen, I love her. And I would be like, come in. I
would want to ask her so many questions about her childhood trauma.
I would too. And I would want to unpack her childhood trauma. I would also
her body
want
dysmorphia.
To help her identify where her fear of aging and fear of not being enough came in. I would remind her that she's winning at life. You know, that the larger your number is, the higher your score. You're fucking winning. And I would acknowledge how overwhelmed it felt for her to not only become a stepmother to perhaps a child that she didn't even want in the first place, having to fill that role of mother, whether she wanted it or not, just because she fell in love with this guy, and then having to process the loss of this guy,
right,
for herself and her stepdaughter, and how hard it is just to be a mom and say, it's okay to say that fucking sucked. Like, it's okay to be pissed off at it. It's also okay to hold space for her and let her shine.
right.
Doesn't mean that you shine any less.
Right.
And the answers are all within you, Evil Queen, not in your motherfucking mirror. Burn your mirror. Because that motherfucker is lying to you. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yeah, the mirror. Oh, let's talk about the mirror.
Also,
the mirror
murder
just
is
insecurities.
bad.
Yeah, murder is a crime.
Not okay. You will go to jail. Maybe I'm her therapist in jail.
Yeah.
I
mean, we have questions.
I mean, attempted murder, that's a big
I know. I would
crime.
just ask the mirror. I would be like, also, yeah, the mirror's like a symbol of it's your, like, it's all of your negative thoughts about yourself.
Mm-hmm. It really is.
It's all, the worst things that we think about ourselves, your insecurities, the things that only you see that probably no one else sees, the things that you think, oh God, people know this about me or think this about me. That's the mirror in the movie.
Because that's all you can notice. Mm-hmm. Like, I had a cold sore recently. I fucking hate cold sores. And because I borrowed a friend's chapstick years ago, not even realizing that that's how you got cold sores. I mean, this was like in my 20s, and I never had a cold sore. I didn't know. And I borrowed my friend's chapstick. She should have known, damn it. And then ever since, I've had a cold sore. So, case in point, don't ever do that.
Don't borrow chapstick, you
Don't
guys.
borrow chapstick
You're
of
welcome.
somebody else's. You're welcome. I just saved your life. No, but it's all I could see whenever I looked in the mirror.
Right.
And it's like, I don't want to go out in public. Like, I would try to put lipstick on and, like, cover that fucker up. And,
I know.
Like, I had presentations, and I'm like, okay, how dark is that? All right, let's get lipstick that matches that shade. Then how can I,
I know.
It's all
and
I could see.
no one noticed.
No one noticed.
No.
I also did a good job of hiding it. But also, nobody
But,
would've-
no one cares.
Right. That giant zit. I mean, how often somebody's like, do you see this huge zit? And I'm like, oh my God, first of all, it's tiny, and I didn't even look at it.
I love telling clients, I'm like, you are really not that important. People don't really notice you that much.
I don't really look at many people. Like, if I'm walking in public, I don't
But that's a
actually look at
great
anybody.
example of people are like, oh my God, people are totally thinking this about me. People, oh my God, they'd probably notice this about my hair, notice this cold sore, notice like that I'm not wearing makeup. I'm like, I guarantee you no one's thinking about that. Mm-mm. Because you know how much you are in your head? Everyone else is in their head the exact same.
And if they are thinking that, it's because they admire you in some way. Or they're jealous of you in some way. Yep. Like the queen.
Yeah, the queen was obviously obsessed with Snow White.
Of Snow White. For whatever reason. Of her youth and her beauty. And she had lost her husband. So she probably is like, great, I'm an old hag. So also, let's go ahead and talk about this. Now you're an old hag. There's no hope for you. You're not getting remarried if you look like that, right?
Right.
Like, that's the message to the older women. Like, oh, you lost your husband? Well, be prepared to be forever alone and ugly.
And ugly.
Like, what? Anyway.
No.
So, yes, unpacking her trauma and helping her acknowledge that it was hard.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Because she obviously needed to handle that much better.
Oh, yeah.
And Prince Charming, homeboy, you do not need to save everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And
like, where does that come from? Where's your childhood trauma?
Money does not buy... He didn't get attention.
Yeah, I was like, he obviously didn't get attention, so he's just seeking it elsewhere.
Yeah, because his money could buy him whatever he wants.
He was probably neglected emotionally.
Oh, poor guy. Prince. I mean, his name is Prince.
Prince Charming.
I mean, but his last name's
Prince.
Charming.
Oh, I thought that was his first name. Like Prince is the title and Charming is his name.
I think Charming is the last name. So his parents were like,
I thought,
what should we name him?
Prince is his Prince because he's a prince. So his name is Charming.
Oh.
What? You've thought his first name is Prince?
Yeah, and his last name is Charming.
Like, no. I always thought he's a prince.
And so his first name is Charming.
Because he's wearing, like, royal clothes.
No, he is a prince.
Yes.
But I also thought that they named him Prince.
I thought they named him Charming. Like,
you know what?
His name is...
Does he?
Is there an answer?
Does he have a last name?
Yeah, what's his family name? Prince Charming.
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 He's double charming. Well, and even saying that, like even thinking about that, so he was supposed to be charming.
Right. This goals I would have for him would be things like who, the same as Snow White, like who are you to your core? And how can you love yourself for that? And same thing, you can marry Snow White, girlfriend, but she needs to be supplementing something for you.
Just because
not
she's a pretty face,
providing it.
Don't be fooled by a pretty face, because homegirl's got some dark shit hidden underneath.
She's got some childhood trauma, and it will come out.
It will fuck you up. Did you see The Dark Forest? No, you didn't.
Because she was on shrooms, probably. Most definitely.
So the moral of this story is deal with your shit and cut the generational trauma.
Yeah.
Actually, I really appreciate this episode because I think it's important for us to look at the history. And I know so often, like, we need to look at the history of the wars and the way humans have behaved. I think art, like the art history, is just as dynamic, in movies and Disney movies specifically, because
I think they get a lot of shit because of like the subliminal, like racism and yeah.
But what does that say about the society at the time?
I know that, like, that's why I just talk to your kids about it. Like, have a fucking open dialogue.
Yeah.
Like, when I watch Snow White, I'm like, I don't blatantly sit down with my kids and be like, so listen here. But I will make a point to be like, that's why I say, if they say they don't love me, I'll say, that's okay. You don't have to love me, but I love you. So I don't have to sit down and say, I'm teaching you this because Snow White's a dumb bitch and didn't teach you that. I'm going to say, I'm going to just bring it up in my own subtle ways. Also,
let's just go ahead and point out the obvious thing. Her last name is White, and her first name means white.
So I thought they said it was because, like, her skin is white as snow.
Yes. Who is the fairest of them all?
Oh, I get it. Wow, that took me a minute. Maybe it's the gin.
Right. But I mean, talk about race. Like, who was the first Disney princess to be a princess of color? Was it Tiana from Princess and the Frog? There was a mermaid before there was a princess of color.
When did Mulan come out? Mulan was like first? 90s.
Yeah.
I don't know when Tiana came out. I didn't see either of those movies because I was starting to get older. Those are like...
Oh, I saw them.
I mean, I've seen them as a grown-up, but, like, I didn't care as much about those. I liked the classic Disney, like, when I was little. I like probably,
Yeah. But all of them were white.
Yeah.
And her name was literally White. And her mom was the evil queen.
Yeah.
And her husband was Prince Charming. So...
What does that say? Yeah. But I also do like the observation of, like, the blue-collar workers. We don't fall in love with them. Because like, growing up, my mom would say, she's like, you
Married
have
for wealth, not love.
Yeah, weird that she would say that. No, she would say, you have to go to college, because if you don't go to college, you're going to be that person right there who stands on the street and holds the stop and slow down signs at the construction zones.
Those motherfuckers make more than I do.
I know.
With a master's degree.
First of all, found out how much they make when my current husband is that.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, I've held those a lot. And I was just like, yeah, just so you know, I was supposed to marry someone with a college degree. Because that was her worry, was I would have money problems for the rest of my life if I didn't marry someone who wasn't a doctor, because I'm going into social work.
I mean, that also was preached on us a lot at the time, and that's why there's so much, college debt now.
I know.
Thank you, Biden.
Let's talk about the college debt.
Thank you, Biden. Mine has been forgiven.
Mine hasn't.
Anyway,
so
Disney Diagnoses. This is episode 1. Let us know.
One of many. Which Disney movie do you want us to watch next?
Yes. Let us know what you want to hear Or if you...
Or thoughts and opinions.
Yeah, did you like this? Was this fun and more familiar? If there's something more in depth that you want us to do, or your favorite Disney character, we're all about it.
If you want us to venture outside of Disney, I'm in
Pixar?
Pixar is Disney. They're like
Star Wars?
second
I know,
cousins.
they're in there too. I don't know what else. Oh, like
Just movies.
Simpsons? Or...
Oh, like TV shows?
Yeah, but then that's a lot of work.
No, TV shows, that's all. Unless I've seen the show.
Who makes kids movies besides
DreamWorks
Disney and Pixar?
It's DreamWorks. They're the other one.
Yeah. I don't
And
watch
then-
those quite as much.
How to Train a Dragon's DreamWorks. So fucking good. That soundtrack, outstanding.
I have to say it was not one of my favorites. It was cute.
Okay, but the soundtrack, I listened to just like, the music when the dragon learns how to fly. Oh my God. So fucking good.
So while Jamie is entranced by this music.
I know.
Thank you
in
so
band.
much. Thank you so much for listening. We love you so much. We are so grateful for you. And have a fantastic day, week, month,
Okay,
fucking
Angie.
year.
Goodbye. Like the fuck. Just stop talking.
I couldn't stop. If you think we're cool,
Or even if you don't,
please like or subscribe so you'll stay up to date on all things The Shrink Show.
thank you for choosing to spend a portion of your life with us. And remember, don't take yourself too seriously. Life is all a giant shrink show.
A Huda Media Production.
Side effects of listening to this podcast may include side aches or snorting from laughter, impromptu jazz hands, nodding in agreement even though you might be listening alone, an occasional "you said it, girl," and mild cases of existential dread. This podcast is strictly for entertainment and informative purposes only and is not intended or implied to diagnose, treat, or otherwise substitute for professional mental health, medical, legal, or other advice. Thank you. Unicorn says bye.